On to the telephones. Here's Kathy in Washington, D.C. Kathy, you're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. My question is for Councilmember Brown. I'd like to know what compelling reason can you give voters to select you as chairman when it's been reported that you have $700,000 in personal debt, that you've been sued by 3 credit card companies for $55,000 in unpaid fees. You've been sued for failure to pay $25,000 in home renovations, that you owe the IRS, that your campaigns for 2004 and 2008 are $90,000 in debt, and you have 4 unpaid speeding tickets. The chairman of the council is supposed to lead the city in dealing with a approximately $5.2 billion budget, and I just want to hear your perspective on what compelling reason can you give voters to select you, given that background of personal mounting debt.
Kwame Brown.
Well, no, thank you. Let me thank you for your question, because what you received was something that was sent out from my opponent. Let me say the first thing as it relates to my credit card situation. There's been numerous stories. I've had an opportunity to address it, and that's something that I'm not proud of. I take full responsibility, and we've made arrangements to make sure that those credit cards are taken care of. As it relates to the personal $700,000 in personal debts, which includes my house, I think it's very important to say that includes my house, and as you know, houses over a 30-year period. Secondly, as I said, being sued for failure to pay $25,000 in home renovations, which was thrown out of court, which I won that case, which was a case that was brought against me that just was not correct. As it relates to the IRS, it has the $15,000, which is not true. The IRS has been paid, and we are now in the process of applying for the application for reimbursements. And when it says the 2004 and 2008 campaigns are in debt, the Office of Campaign Finance, which sent me a letter in which we responded to within 4 hours, and now they have the information as required down at the Office of Campaign right now. That's just not true, and it does not exist. As it relates to 4 unpaid speeding tickets, which is interesting, and it says that, which is not true either. It was 1 speeding tickets and 3 traffic tickets 17 years ago when I was probably, I think, either a junior or a sophomore in college, which has been paid for.
But can I, before Mr. Orange answers, can I just ask, because I did this first story on Mr. Brown's debt, and I just, someone characterized it to me this way. It said, just as you, Mr. Brown, said on education, you have family in this, you have children in the schools, and so you are personally and professionally affected by education decisions. This person said to me, well, doesn't Mr. Brown realize that his personal finances are in such disarray, credit card suits and all of that, won't that inevitably affect how you are as chairman and what you do?
Yeah, no, it's not, and it's old news. We've addressed this information a number of times. We've had an opportunity to take that message to those, whether it's the Board of Trade, the Chamber of Commerce, who looked at that information. As a matter of fact, Mr. Sherwood, you know you've had a lot of this information for a while. We've discussed them at candidates forums. We've discussed them on meet and greets. We discussed them when we're at the subways. And overwhelmingly, not only my colleagues have looked at this information and double-checked this information, and they still have endorsed me, as well as the 38 other organizations that stepped up to the plate. The Northwest Current took a second look at it, and I went in and reviewed all of this and laid out the information, and then they still endorsed my campaign. Now, you know, they say, was it a sloppy accounting work on my campaign filing? You know, you take responsibility for that. The credit cards, I take responsibility for that. But in terms of what I've done professionally, I've always had the utmost character, and I've never been accused of anything as it relates to moving the city forward. Which brings me to this question. What residents want to know is how we're going to move this city forward, and when you don't have a plan and can't articulate it.
Can we have Mr. Brown?
Which brings me to this question for you, Vincent Orange. Mr. Brown's personal financial problems have been widely publicized. You have been endorsed by no less than the Washington Post. What is your explanation for why you trail him so badly in the polls?
Well, first of all, Kojo, this has not been widely dispersed. The mayoral race,
nobody watches Sherwood?
The mayoral race has overshine all of this. There's only been one article on this. But let me get back to what Mr. Brown has indicated.
But why would you say you... I will give you a chance to do that, but given the fact that it's been publicized, given the fact that the Washington Post endorsed you, which is supposed to mean something in this town, what's your explanation for why you're trailing that?
I would say, Coach, let's look at the timeline. The Washington Post endorsed me on August 9th. Okay, and this information on Mr. Brown as it relates to campaign finance only came out on August 30, so you can't correlate the two. This is an evolving story on the $73,000 that's missing from his campaign that has not been accounted for. This is an evolving story about the IRS debt. He only filed these documents on August 13th. This was not in public view. So let's look at the timeline and let's make sure that we're.
What do you think it says? I guess what I want to know is why does his personal financial problems, and there are many people with financial problems with their houses being worth less than they are, all those things, but why is this significant to you, and why it affects how he would be as chairman?
Well, I think it's...
Without getting mired in all the details, I think he's acknowledged he's had these various debts.
I understand. First of all, it's something that's of concern to all the residents of the D.C., and it's not just personal finance. It's personal finance and now campaign finance. Is this the person you want to send to Wall Street to represent us? Hey, this guy, look at what's his credit score? He didn't take responsibility. The courts took responsibility. He had 3 judgments entered against him. Do you know what it takes in order to get 3 judgments?
That is not true.
He just walked away from these things until they got his attention. And like the Washington Post indicated, I didn't write this. The Washington Post says you should have cleaned this up before you even thought about running. These campaign finance debts been on the books since 2004. I did not file the report on August 13th. Mr. Brown did. And on August 13th, he filed a report that said he paid $8,093 in IRS debt. He didn't pay the $13,000 that he told the Washington Post. Look at his records. I didn't create his records. I examined the records. And then the 2004 campaign debt, $56,791. Go to the Office of Campaigns website. Vincent Orange didn't create that number. That's his number. The 2008 campaign debt, that's Kwame Brown's
What
number.
does it mean?
It means that Kwame Brown is not responsible, that he lacks judgment, that he should have cleaned this up before he came forward. It also indicates that Kwame Brown tried to hide this information. When you talk to the Board of Trade, they didn't know about this. When you talk to those council members, when he got those endorsements, they did not know that Kwame Brown had been sued 3 times.
Do you think they should have withdrawn their endorsements when this information came out? And if they should have, why have they not?
Well, what I think is that any elected official should provide relevant information for someone to make an informed decision.
All right, I'll allow Mr. Brown to respond, and then we do have to move on.
To the citizens of
Thank
District
you.
of Columbia.
The residents that I talked to have looked at this record, have examined this record, and said that I'm best lead. The Northwest Current said I'm the best person to do the job. After the situation is related to credit cards, in which I take full responsibility of, the Northwest Current endorsed me, the Sierra Club endorsed me, the Federal Order of Police endorsed me, the Hotel Association endorsed me, the Mid-Atlantic Carpenters endorsed me, the U.S. Postal Workers Union endorsed me, Councilmember Phil Mendelson endorsed me, and Councilmember Mary Bowser has endorsed me. Not only have Mary Shea been there from the beginning, but walk. What people want to know is, how do we move forward? How are we going to ensure that our children are getting quality education? How are we going to ensure that when we get off the metro, that we're going to be able to make it home safely? How do we get our residents back to work? How do we ensure that domestic violence is dealt with in our women that are being abused, that is unacceptable, and we start to move in a direction to do something about it? But more importantly, how do we have the best leader to do the best job to bring our city together to move forward? And 38 organizations and 12 colleagues of mine have said that Kwame Brown is best to do that.